A quick question to ask yourself and your business. Have you systematically put processes and ways of doing things in your business that reduce or mitigate the client experience of your clients? And this is quite interesting, quite an interesting topic because I do what's called white label or wholesale digital marketing services in my business. So we source employees out of places like Pakistan. And in Pakistan, the business experience is very, very different to the business experience in Australia, for example, where a lot of my clients are. So one thing that I did in the early stages of my business was try to create quality standards and manage quality through processes. I created a bunch of processes to acceptable levels of quality for me and for Australian standards, and then I expected my employees over in Pakistan to follow those processes. And that got the business to a certain level based on quality, but at some point those processes started to hinder us a little bit because when we reached a certain size, we needed our management team and our employees to start thinking about what are we actually delivering to the clients, because we're not delivering processes, we're delivering an expected result, and even beyond that, an experience. And it's really, really interesting how the universe comes together to drive messages and reinforce messages when it's the right time, because I went over to Pakistan recently, and the whole idea of this was to train our leadership team in Pakistan on moving from client service to creating a client experience, and doing that through mindfulness about what we're actually giving our clients throughout their experience with us, and also through leadership. So our leadership team helps drive these messages to the staff. So as a team, we come together and really enhance the delivery of what we're doing with our clients. And on the way home, I had to. There was some issues with visas, and the long story, but in the short, we had to rush to get a impromptu flight home using Hong Kong Airlines. And really interesting. I was in the only tickets we could get were economy class, and I was sitting in the economy cabin, and it was really, really well run. It's probably the most organised economy cabin I've ever been in. But I wanted an upgrade to business class, and the upgrade to business class, I think, was 5,500 Hong Kong dollars, which equated to about 800 or so Australian dollars, and that was a price I was willing to pay. So I actually asked out in the where the staff where we were boarding, and they said, yeah, there's a ticket there, but all those sort of sales happen on the flight only. So I had to go and sit down in my seat and grab a staff member, and they'd process the payment through, the inboard duty-free processing credit card processor. So that was fine. So I went down and I grabbed the host, and I said, look, I heard there's a seat in business class available. I'd love to buy it. He told me the price, 5,500 Hong Kong dollars. I was happy with that. There's a seat there, great. Go get the credit card machine and we'll put it through. And so the gentleman went and got the credit card machine, and then he had some trouble putting the credit card payment through. Went away, came back, and he said, sorry sir, the problem is that we have a credit card limit in flight of 5,000 Hong Kong dollars. So they have a ticket item here on the airline, on the plane, which they can only process on the plane, but the price point is higher than their maximum allowable spend on the plane. So it was bizarre. Why even have that as a ticketed item that you can purchase if you can't process it on credit card? But anyway, so I have a conversation with them. I said, well, I've got two credit cards. Can I do 5,000 on the first and then the last 500 on the second? Because I want that seat. I'm a client, I want that seat. I'm also sure your shareholders want you to sell me that seat because it's there, and obviously that extra 5,500 Hong Kong dollars will go to shareholder value. Sorry sir, we can't do split payments like that. But if you have either 500 Hong Kong dollars in cash or the equivalent in Australian dollars, I can process it that way. So, okay, so your process doesn't work, 2 points, but we found a way to actually do it. I have a look in my wallet and I'm literally $4 Australian short. So I want to pay for it, but I physically don't have the cash. I've been in Pakistan for the last 2 weeks. I don't have the Australian dollars on me. I'm $4 short Australian. I think it was 20 Hong Kong dollars short or something like that out of 5,500. Might have been a bit more, might have been 50 or 40 or something like that. But they didn't do the transaction. They refused to do the transaction based on process. So here they had a seat in business class that was sitting available and empty. They told the client that the seat was there for them and the price. The client said, I'd love to sit in that seat. I'm willing to pay for it. Here's the money by credit card. Because of their rules, they couldn't process that. I tried extra hard to see what I had available, and it was a smidgen short of the final amount to process it with a combination of credit card and cash. There was no ATM there. Obviously, I couldn't draw them on a plane, and they didn't do the job. They didn't do the transaction because of process and because of internal rules. And that was coming home from the training that I did in Pakistan, where the whole emphasis of the training was how do we look beyond process to create an environment of leadership and an environment of client focus where we create an experience of delight, a delightful, really fulfilling experience for our clients rather than just shift through the process and deliver what's processed. It was a really stark example of how not having that attitude and not having that foresight can be a disaster for your clients. Because I can tell you one thing, that every bump and every discomfort and every lack of comfort I had for not being in business class, for sitting in that economy class seat, that was felt tenfold, because I knew the seat was just literally 20 steps away, waiting for me and empty, and I wanted to pay for it. So I felt every discomfort times 20 times, and I don't know if I'll use that airline again, because they had the ability to make the transaction, and they didn't based on process, rather than doing it based on what's the experience that we're going to give this client of ours. So just a question for you with your business. Do you have processes, or do you have ways of doing things, or just ways things have always been done that really take away from the client experience in your business? Because if so, maybe that's somewhere you can look and get a step ahead of your competitors and make a mark for yourself in your industry.